Thank you for everyone who's just tuning in. We're just waiting for Jyoti to join the conversation. I'll just send her a message. Jai Bhim, happy Ambedkar Jayanti to all. Just gonna reach out to Jyoti, who should join in a few minutes, or a minute. She should be here. So this is my first time doing Instagram Live, so so I'm just getting used to the fact that you can't hear anyone else. It's just you and your own voice. Okay, so I'll just message my colleague if she can just reach out to. Does every minute feel like a lifetime when you're on this Instagram Live thing? Okay, let me just message friend. How do I add somebody? Jyoti. She's just about to join, so looking forward to her presence. It's an exciting conversation that I think we've spoken about having this event for some time now, and it'd be nice to have a finally speak on EPW's platform on this really important day. So yeah, just a minute more, I think, and she should be here. Yeah, thanks everyone for the support, solidarity. Hi, Jyoti. Hey. Hi. Happy Ambedkar Jayanti. Jai Bhim.
Same to you. Just let me put my earphone.
Yeah, sure.
Am I 3 minutes late? Sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, the 3 minutes definitely felt like 30 minutes to me, but that's just because it's me. That's not because of anyone else.
Okay. Is the frame good?
Yeah, I think so.
Or do I need to put it up little?
No, this is good. This is good. What do others think? I think people are on board.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Jyoti, for joining us for this special EPW Engage event on Indian cinema and Bahujan Spectatorship. We're very happy and honored to have you join the Engage platform for this podcast, for this what is it called, live session.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just have a quick introduction for you, and then we can maybe begin to discuss your article and some of the body of work. Yeah, so I guess it's it's the nice thing about this is there are questions that keep coming in. So if there's at any point that you want to take other people's questions, we can definitely do that because engagement is great. So I'll start with the nice introduction. So Jyoti Nisha is an independent writer and filmmaker. She's based in Mumbai. So she's dabbled in several areas of media and storytelling as a journalist, as a trained academic, and with a major focus on cinema, entertainment, caste, gender, and media. She's also obviously a filmmaker, and her crowd-funded film, B.R. Ambedkar, Now and Then, explores Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's life symbolically, politically, and delves into the representation and assertion of Bahujan politics in today's time. She's also co-producing this film with Pa Ranjit's Neelam Productions. So she introduced Indian cinema and Bahujan Spectatorship, and she tried to understand the consumption of popular media by the marginalized groups in India. She's also most recently, and this is something that's quite exciting because the trailer was out really recently. She was director's assistant to Neeraj Gaiwan's Netflix series called Ajeeb Dastans. So it's like an exciting time where there's a lot going on. So I'm sure there's a lot for us to discuss. So thank you, Jyoti, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. That was like lovely.
Yeah.
You don't realize what are you doing unless you hear it from somebody else, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get right to it. So you published this article around last year, and it was quite powerful. You were looking at it from the cinematic perspective, the theoretical perspective, and the visceral perspective, like how it affected you. And I thought we could maybe start this conversation by jogging back to the first moment where you notice what we know today as Bahujan Spectatorship, and maybe we can also trace this journey of how it evolved from that first time to the actual article that you eventually published in EPW.
Okay. I think where it began from, like, it's a lifelong kind of a question, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like, I think going to film school was very interesting for me because I was exploring to be I mean, I was just exploring something to do with writing or stories. You don't really understand the form unless you are there or doing it. So, so it kind of gave me like an understanding that stories are really, really powerful, and how the stories that I was hearing at my homes and the stories that were happening, I mean, that were part of the popular culture, were very different. And a lot of friends of mine were part of that popular culture, you know. So my friends are Hindus, and so they, or, you know, different other religions as well. So somehow, and then this happened. I mean, of course, in between, I started making my film, and then also I did not really know what do you call it, what we call as gays, but I had a certain like a unpleasantness with the way we were projected. But you don't know how to articulate it, you know. How do you come about and tell that experience? Because then you're like, almost like you're attacking or getting attacked in that process. Um, so this kind of really, really happened to really, I mean, make that difference, because, you know, and I could understand where caste is coming from and where is gender coming from. And so that was like a real shift, because the stories that I had written in film school, and then I came back to TISS and I saw it, and I was like, hey, you know, I was also looking at very much engaging with the popular discourse only, but it was not something which connected with my experience as a person. So it was like a conflict, that you find yourself in as a person, when you're not able to really explain to people what's going on. So and then you understand that. So I was kind of like, and I was also at family, I mean, discussions and all that, we will discuss that, you know, how media is again like an ideological state apparatus, and so it's literature, and so like a lot of times, like, you know, the people are not called to give your perspective from your place. So I was like, how is that possible? It's just not possible. It cannot be like, there cannot be like such an invisible force which is working almost against you, and and you think that you are part of this secular India. So so I just felt like, from a personal position, I mean, this kind of made me realize that, hey, this is your experience. Okay, this is an experience of discrimination. All right, this is an experience of assertion, or this is an experience that, you know, people from academia or literature, the literature has talked about. So I could see this lived experience had some kind of a connection uh, uh, with how it was speaking and how positions of power were there. So somehow I found myself caught in a way that, hey, this is not my story. I don't connect with it. This is also not my culture. And it is nothing to pose yourself as an antagonist or pose the other one as an antagonist. Well, it's more like, this is not your reality. This is sorry, I don't know. I like didn't work on the light, I guess.
No, I think you look fine.
so so I just felt like there is like a really invisible powerful force which is working against a certain oppressed community, and there is certain kind of violence this community goes through. And so there I found stories of power and helplessness both. But for me, like, I think I come from an assertive family background, and I mean, my family really insisted on our education, and my brother is telling me still to go and pursue some PhD. So I'm like, so it was like, so you understand, so it was like really like finding answers to rational questions, which with the minus, it affects your religious sentiment. um, so I found that placing in like as a site of ideological production. I saw it like this. There is a state, and then there is a state apparatus, and there is a you know ideological state apparatus, and how ideology basically affects kind of controls it in so many ways. So I found cinema to be placed in that sense. So it wasn't like that you're saying some people from some privileged caste or class you're talking about, but you're talking about everybody who finds entitlement or privilege through that ideology. And especially when you are aware of the kind of oppressed history that exists. So so I just felt like, I just don't connect with these characters, and I just feel very repulsive about it, and I just feel very angry about it. And you want to just diss them and all. And but you did so I found a language for it. And when I found bell hooks, a friend of mine, and also like it was very incidental, I was called at the Media Rumble, and where I was moderating a session on the politics of Indian cinema. And I asked just these very, I think, academic method-driven questions, and that really upset people. And they could not find that connection. It just felt like I was just critiquing them for some reason. But I clearly saw that there is a gap. Hey, like your story is, people don't know your position of power from where you come from. So what do you do about it? Like you can't pick a fight with 10,000 people individually. What you can do is you can produce a perspective, or you can critique it, or you can come up with some kind of a theorization about that kind of a knowledge. So I just found this, and it started to make a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
that's what happened actually.
Yeah, I like how you spoke up against it at that event, because I mean in the article you definitely provide all these examples where you close read scenes and you're looking at how this gap actually exists, and like applying theory, and then your personal experience viewing it. So I guess we get to hear about all the different parts of your like growing up, like as somebody who knew what was happening, and as somebody who commented that didn't have the vocabulary, and you also said about the language, that TIS gave you that space to do it, and education like gave you that way to say. So that's quite fascinating. And something that I wanted to learn about a little is the article was read quite widely. So I was curious about any of if there were there any responses that you felt were really intriguing, and that you felt like you wanted to kind of discuss here to the article.
Nothing. I mean, it was received pretty well. I think only one person spoke about, I think that Dalit is I have called as I mean, deduced it as like Dalit are broken people. So I'm like, I came from a more of a perspective of representation, within which Bahujan is more like a political identity where you come together. And of course, I'm not discounting the arguments or the realities that are there, but I see that this is the way that power has been led. And at least from where I come from in UP, it has happened, it has a history. So I just felt like this is more like a collective term which will bring people together, which has uh, already been told and has been experienced, and like Sahib Kanchiram has analyzed, I mean, has given this theory. So so for me it was more of that, and also like I'm aware of broken people were like Buddhist people actually. I mean, so it's not like anything to speak against. It is also, I think we should be also, as writers, I think that we should also be ready to have that argument or have that conversation. That's why we are having this conversation, because I also read some people and I also could connect with some people, and also not I mean absolutely connect with people or their theories or their experience. So it is their reality, what they have projected or they have written about. It is what is my reality, or what is my, I mean, what is my reality in the sense like this is an extension of the knowledge that I am producing from my experience. And when you pronounce it that you are, basically producing something from your experience, and as Sandra Harding also says that all knowledge is socially located. So it is located. So in that sense, look, it is also an extension of the knowledge that you're producing. And for me, like it is, I mean, I come from more from an assertive, rational, critical thinking kind of a person. Bell hooks really encourages you to think critically and to really like. I really feel that there is an opportunity for all of us. I mean, who have this opportunity to have engaged with knowledge or any kind of art or any, I don't know, which gives you an opportunity to have a different perspective, and you are also the creator and also the audience, so you can pretty much have that perspective.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think just that, but otherwise it was pretty much good only.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, sorry, I should have given this context at some point. But so Jyoti in her article mentions that she will avoid using the label like Dalit because it denotes broken people, and she'll stick to the political category of Bahujan, and then explains why. So that's like some of the feedback that she's responding to. Actually getting to the topic of the day, we this is taking place on Dr. Ambedkar Jayanti. So it would be interesting to piece out this one thread throughout the article, and maybe this is where everybody will also be roped into this conversation, where you look at this feminist Ambedkarite perspective and a Gandhian perspective to filmmaking, and then you understand how some of these films, why you call one film a Ambedkarite feminist film, or what that lens provides, and what a Gandhian lens that the filmmaker has employed in many instances kind of shows us. So if we can look at maybe that through a recent example, that could be something that we can go with.
Not, no, I don't know, not necessarily through a Gandhian lens or something. I think I'd like to first explain what we are talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I jumped the gun.
Yeah. So basically, what I meant, what is Bahujan Spectatorship? It's an experience of consuming popular cinema where your kind of people, your representation is out there, or of your community, or of culture, or of your music, or of your dance, or anything that you connect with from your experience and that has an history. So sorry, I lost my thought. Oh, shit.
No, you're talking about the gap between popular culture and so whenever there's this gap between
Shit.
the representation that you. So the question is about the Ambedkarite versus Gandhian.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I have lost my track, but I'll still try to put it together.
Yeah. You got this.
Yeah. No, I mean, basically, I was, there is like the ideological, there is when we were talking about that, when you look at a film, when you look at cinema, and you locate yourself as a subject, and when you are represented out there, and you do not connect. I mean, what we were talking about is Bhavjan Spectatorship. So when you consume popular cinema where your representation, your kind of representation of your kind of people doesn't agree with you, it doesn't agree with you for several things that I said before, and then you have a position to negate that experience because it is not your reality. So for me, it was just like I just felt like I saw a really lack of connection between the kind of representation that was happening and the kind of choices that filmmakers have made. And also, it is essential to break it down to, I mean, the Bahujan Spectatorship basically uses three kinds of argument. One, which is that all cinema is in sight of an ideological state apparatus. And what is an ideological state apparatus is these institutions which are driven by ideology, and they include religion, schools, church, communication, art, literature, sports, cinema. So these are, and within which the cultural ideological production includes cinema. And so you see that, and the interesting thing about an ideological state apparatus is these institutions are, they affect you at a very private and intimate level. So how is a discourse created? It is created through a certain kind of a school of thought or an ideology, which is taught to you maybe via religion, maybe via family conditioning, maybe via what is your education system is saying, maybe via the kind of the way you are producing news, the way you are producing perspectives. So they all are driven by some kind of an ideology. And so you see that, I mean, so there is this force which is basically these institutions are driven by, which is called as ideology, and it affects you at a private level. And cinema is a very part of it's an experiential medium. So when you create some kind of images, they have some kind of a resolution, consequence, or impact, and it's some kind of and it might not be a very direct impact, but it is a very indirect impact. And I mean, bell hooks says that, and my argument also derives around a lot of arguments from bell hooks, and how she looks at cultural criticism, and also from the concept of gaze. So I'll just quickly explain gaze. It is so what happened to bell hooks was, it was just like the story that I told you, that this is not agreeing with it, this is not my gaze, this is not how I look at it. And she's also telling that there were black people who were basically punished to look back. And she found this desire to look back very political and very charged. I mean, you were punished for looking, but you still wanted to look. So, and that is so I just found that, hey, oh yeah, exactly. This connects, so there is this. And she also sees that how the popular medium somehow kind of stereotypes, some marginalized people, or black people, and it is really, she connects this. She connects the dots between representation and the kind of choices that filmmakers make. And I kind of connected with the kind of ideological state apparatus or the ideology that these ideological state apparatus connect with. And that whole experience of coming from your lived experience, that this doesn't connect with me, was Sandra Harding's, theory of that all knowledge is socially situated. And she also says that, she also gives a very interesting, like 4 sites of inquiry within which she says, one of this, all knowledge is socially situated, and then the other one, she questions basically these epistemologies, these methodologies through which the scientific methods through which knowledge is produced. So I saw this connection between all of that, and I was like, hey, okay. This makes sense. So for me, so this is what the Bahujan Spectatorship basically comes from. It comes from an experience which is personal, in which when you speak from the position of power or opposition which doesn't connect with you, but you have that desire to look back and to say, hey, it doesn't connect with me. So, and then you see this powerful force which completely started to make sense to me. I was like, oh my God, this didn't happen in my film school, but I can connect with it, in TISS. And then I was put in this spot. So I was just like, I have seen that, like, recently, for two examples that you asked for, I would like to explain Sudeep Mishra's Serious Man, and I think, and the other one will be the discreet Charm of Savarnas by Rajesh Rajamani. I'll take a moment of breath, okay?
Just we should have some water. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your comments and questions. We will try to get to them. And during the course of the conversation. Yeah, Jyoti.
Yeah. So, see, again, this is the problem of the gaze, like I see. So I don't have like any personal, vested interest to, be so critical, but it's just,
No,
I also think, no, but I also see like, I mean, like Bell Hooks says, and I think these are like these are like, when I listen to these kind of their conversations, and they like makes me land into these moments of epiphany, sort of, like where she's constantly questioning representation and the choices that we are making, and where you are coming from. So it is this whole, I just see that in the film as well. This is like there is this Ayan Mani, who is a Dalit person, and this revolves around kind of a corruption story from top to the Serious Man. And wait, let me just see the names of the character. Wait.
Yeah, just to recount the question, because some people are asking. The question is about looking at maybe two recent examples of a concept that Jyoti used in her article, of looking at the a Gandhian versus a feminist Ambedkarite approach to filmmaking, and we're trying to understand that.
So I'm not like really delving into why is it Gandhian and all that, but I'm trying to explain it to you that all knowledge, all the cinema is basically any filmmaker who is producing some kind of a cinema has and use some kind of a symbology, which is maybe Gandhian, where you find Gandhi and Ambedkar or Gandhi and all that. And also their positions in the way they, respond to situations basically decides the ideological position of the filmmaker. And then how do they project it? I mean, Harding also says that who is producing this knowledge, and for whom, and who is funding this knowledge. So it also becomes like, for me, it's a very interesting position also that so I find like so again, like I find Sudeep Mishra's basically gaze like as an Brahminical ideological production. It is nothing else. He looks at I mean, throughout this film, I just constantly felt little like he's created this character of Ayan Mani who desires to have upward movement in the society, but like he is a cheat basically by the end of it, and he is teaching all values of cheating to his son also because he is not conscious, and what he is doing is basically replicating his own master, who is who is Acharya ji, who is a scientist at an institution, and he's like basically creating a fraud of trying to find the space microbes. So I just felt like this is a very interesting,
Yeah.
this is a very interesting representation of, the Acharya, and also the and Iron Money, and and also his kid. I just felt like it's the same track. I don't see any position. It's just it's just like replicating each other culture, but just for the heck of it, you have called this person a Dalit person. The treatment of it, at least I felt like that. And there's a lot of tokenism
Yeah.
in the film for no reasons. The politician and the politician's daughter, aspiring politician, she is and she's handicapped, and she has going through domestic violence, and her face is also scarred. So it's just like it's just like, oh my god, what are you
Yeah.
doing, like totally like villainize the hell out of the character, sort of, but give them some humanity as well on the side, sort of a thing. So and just like using the desire of a Dalit person, or and also I think the language, like the way he's applying for this paternity leave in the film, and the language, it's so like it is such a mockery, of like, you do not know, and I think there is also like this whole concept of meritocracy that comes into place, because what is the problem? The problem is that you should look at content. Like, what are you telling? It is the grammar is the next step, like but we get caught into this, and it's also a stereotype as well, which is obviously there, so it was like, again, one more stereotype. So I just like found this like a very symbolical
Yeah.
production of person coming from a privileged background but has no real connection, or I don't know what was their point of research. And I'm really like coming from a very academic position, or like a research position, from the perspective that bell hooks says that obviously filmmakers and the representation that they are creating have a connection, and the choices that the filmmakers are making, I don't know how much the conscious choice is of the person, and where are you coming from, but it really projects. So yeah, so I just felt like it's not a great
Yeah.
film for me.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
um, and so yeah, and the pressure that it is that it was on the child eventually, to everything, getting involved. Basically, the child is in a powerful position because he's a genius, so his genius has to be exploited, and the system is not allowing this man's son to get into an English medium school, and they're trying to convert him and all that. So many things are happening, but there are all of these things. The problem is all of these things happen in most of the films. These kind of tropes are there, but it just doesn't come at the position where you have really spent time in the space, or you really know about that, or do you make that connection between the two? So I felt that it is very removed for the filmmaker from how to project, like a certain community again. Like, it's not that I didn't feel anything affirmative about it. I was like, again, this is like a
Yeah.
typical popular culture perspective, just because, and you're just capitalizing on the discourse. So
Yeah, I haven't seen
yeah.
the movie, so I can't really add much here. But yeah, it'll be great. I've seen Discrete Charm of Savarna, so it'd be great to get your insights on what you thought about maybe one or two scenes, something like that,
Um,
or
I
the
mean, the
overall.
whole gaze again, like, I'll get into the gaze. Like, I really find his
Yeah,
gaze
let's do
very
it.
interesting. It's very inverted. It's like, it's like hilarious. I hate satirical. It's everything, that perhaps Savarna people, privileged people who remove from their position just suddenly just go into, it's just like it's like a satire on the imagination, the colonized imagination of the privileged class, so to say, and their imagination of trying to find a Dalit character, and how they think that, you know, perhaps the Dalit characters they're like dark or dirty, or they can't speak in English, or they're not well dressed, or too educated, too pretty, or something, all those things, or they, you know, like, or color. So, so that again, these are like stereotypes, and again, some kind of a racial and caste discrimination, and again, also, this is obviously it is coming from a perspective of the person who's from the community, so he can look at it. So you see this gaze completely reversed, that you're talking about. You have this very urban intellectual class people who are talking about it, and who really want to, who talk about mental health or gender, you know, or but at the same time cannot take a train, you know, while, you know, to reach a place or something, and they're suddenly shocked when they see this girl. You know, but you don't fit into this. So you can clearly see that you know, it just breaks the for the audience in front of them, the imagination of the upper caste filmmaker. So that was very funny. I mean, I really like that. And also this whole, I think it is also a joke. I mean, like a, maybe, I don't know, comment or whatever that he's making about, you know, again, the capitalizing of the discourse and in institutions, and how, you know, films and literature travels to different institutions, and then, and you know, and how every, yeah, you know, your obviously appropriation, and, you know, your knowledge and personhood, all that. So it's damn, it's interesting. I really like that. And he does it. I mean, as a filmmaker, I think what's clever about it, like, it's really, I mean, um, it's just it really gets into that, takes you to that journey of that, how do you locate a person who comes from a marginalized background. First you locate them in terms of where are you coming from, like what is this part in. So they go through this book, phone book, and find a person from a caste background, and then they were like looking at it, and I'm like, wow, right, correct. And then and then, you know, like a color of a person, it suits a person from a certain caste background, needs to be this certain color. And so those things, I think that was like really, really funny. So I mean, again, like, there is no ideology per se he has inserted into it, but from the perspective of an experience, if he has created, I mean, as in, and also I would really like to bring into here, who has funded this film.
Neelam, right?
So, so it's just like, it's not a film from a commercial, popular culture. So, again, like, I mean, Sandra Harding says that, oh, who is producing this knowledge, you know, like, so I think it also made sense in that sense, you know, to tell a different story.
I like how, like, I definitely, you know, the humor was something that was quite, like, subversive, because then you're invited into the thing, but then, you know, it's also like you're poking fun at, like, Savarna filmmakers, and it's also like a film, so that, like, as soon as it's on the screen, even if it's something you do, you're like, oh wow, that's ridiculous. So, like, so many of the things, like, you know, I've been in filmmaking spaces, so I also, like, realized that, you know, these are things that are, or even in other, like, non-filmmaking spaces, it's just something that's very everyday. So it was very good to see it on the screen, because there's a sense of disassociating yourself also, but then realizing that this is, like, the reality of you know, filmmaking, and, like, really, really, like, flawed representation. So those are, like, two pretty insightful examples. So I want to transition to the film that you've been working on. So it's B.R. Ambedkar, Now and Then. And when my colleague Anandita at Engage, you know, saw the trailer, and I saw it as well, she found the soundtrack really compelling. So there was this, it was called Buddham Sharanam Ganchami. And, you know, if we can understand, if we can start by knowing a little about the film, and, like, the particularly the, like, the use of music. Maybe somebody can share the link to it on this If there's one of my colleagues, they could do that because it's really cool, the video.
Are you talking about the soundtracks video?
Not the soundtracks video. It's the Wishberry fundraising thing, but it's just you. It's not the one with two people.
Okay, okay. Oh
Yeah.
God, that's old. Don't play that, please.
Okay. We won't send it. We'll send what you approved later on as a comment.
No, it's like an old bit.
Yeah. No, I mean, okay. Why don't you tell us what would you want to share?
Again, like I'm speaking so much about gays for such a long time. So
Yeah.
my position of telling Baba Sahib's story is from, again, like strength, power. For me, it was like, oh, this is missing. I just felt like, Arey, this is missing. Okay, so I was like, okay, I can tell this. Maybe let's try, sort of a thing. So I kind of also I mean, when the film, how it came into shape was a lot of things were happening. There were strikes happening all over the country, in institutions against scholarships and shutting down institutions. So many things were happening, and students are like asserting Ambedkarite ideology. And Rohit Vemula passed away. And he wrote such a phenomenal, letter that was so insightful and so ahead of its time, so I just felt like I really felt like there is some kind of a connection to what's happening. And I was also on a sort of like I was home, my mother wasn't keeping well and all. So I was working. I was sitting at home and watching all of these things, and it just felt the right story to sort of explore. And it just also, something you learned at film school also, that you explore first thing in your territory, which you are comfortable with. So I was not very actively, but I was still very passively comfortable with this territory, and I just. And I felt like there is some kind of a resonance that's happening, and like students are asserting Ambedkarite ideology and saying things. So I felt like there's definitely something is going on, and I felt like it's really, really historic in that sense to have this documented. So yeah, just that. I think it started with my own money, then like asking money from family and then friends, and you're like, that time your family thinks like, oh God, you're not doing anything, you're just like investing money. And like it's just like another pressure also. So I was just like like trying to figure out way to get money to make this film. And I got like, and over a period of years, you also saw so much happening. So I just felt like, okay, I can't miss this, So I was like, well, constantly have to raise money somehow, figure out to make money and do this. So my camera person, there were a couple of people who have worked on as camera person as well. But Pooja Jain, she really came on board. She didn't take money. Like she just came on board. She wanted me to do something. I did for her, and it was more like a barter kind of a thing. And she got really interested, passionate. So that really helped, and it was really comfortable to do that. So yeah, Wishberry, I was just like, I had all the doors shut, and I was just like trying to do the last thing that I wanted to do. I was like, I'm gonna take this risk and ask. I knew like that, that there is a method to raise money. I had seen that, but I was like, can I do it? I was like,
before it got popular, like crowdfunding. Like this is before.
Yes, this is before.
Exactly.
Yes,
yeah.
How it came into being is, I'm telling you. What is the for me? What was the stimuli? Was this like I was looking for a story, things were happening, and this was in my territory, and I just felt like kind of in a spot, and I just didn't want to let this go in that sense. So, and I had never felt like driven by a story so much. So, I had worked on some stories and all that, but this was like, this is it. This really makes sense. And over a period of years, I realized this is very intense, and I got to study about it, how this is like falling. It's just not a docu. So I went to TISS, and studied about it and understood the arguments really, really well. It was a really good time also, I think so. Because good time in the sense like so much protest was happening in the country, so it was also happening inside the university. So you could just really feel it, you know. It was really, really charged, and also I was like, wow, this is like a really good place to be at this point of time in life. So I just wanted to tap into that somehow, and somehow a lot of people helped. It came on, like, you know, which very really helped, and then Ranjit came on board. So so it was like, it really, I think it was like a story I had in my mind and I wanted to do in my way, sort of. And that's how it sort of worked out so far.
Yeah,
and the music of the film was interesting for me. Was I have listened to, like, I listen to music all the time, like all the time.
okay, okay,
So for me it was really, really important to and I, the material of my film was very, very intense, and I was like, oh god, this is like really boring stuff. Visually at least it was very, very boring. How do you like keep people engaged as viewers? So that was like a really challenge, and I saw, hey, let's do music. Then and so I was just like, okay, you listen to music, like you got to do a job also, you know, like get OSTs created. So so I just and also I wanted like a sound which connects with people,
yeah,
which connects with young people, and like the kind of music I listen to at a point of time, or you know, like I still listen to, I think it'll still connect. So so it's an electronic. There are two composers basically on the film. Is Shankuraj Konwar. He's from Assam. He's a musician, composer, a singer, really, really good. So he did two songs for us. Um, so the track that is there in the trailer is an Jai Bhim OST.
okay,
Yeah, so this is like so what happened, how I conceived this song was like, wherever I went to shoot,
yeah,
I constantly heard Jai Bhim and Buddham Sharanam Gacchami like playing everywhere, and it was like, oh my god, it was like, you know. And I just did not like I mean, I wanted a sound still. I wanted these things, two things to be there, but I wanted a new sound to go with it, which is urban and electronic, and you know, like it's that one is like a more electronic, ambient kind of a song. So so I just like got this, saw this, met this musician again in my campus in TISS. He was my senior. so so I heard his track and I was like, fuck, I mean, really, this is really good, you know, like I like it. So then of course like I had to chase him, and we did this back and forth. And so it has a mix of Jai Bhim and Buddhist chanting, like, which is in Pali. So obviously, I can't tell you I don't have the real translation of the Pali one. But these are just like prayers for, you know, like positivity, you know. And we also recorded it during a pravajja ceremony, which is like a shaving ceremony, head shaving ceremony. So these were the prayers that were going on. So that were those. So I recorded the sounds these when I was shooting at places, and so he mixed these sounds, and Jai Bhim was there, so obviously, which is obviously Jai Bhim is a hail beam, and Buddham Sharanam Gacchami means Buddham Sharanam Gacchami translates to I take refuge in the Buddha, and Sangham Sharanam Gacchami means I take refuge in the Sangha, which is community, and Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami means I take refuge in Dhamma, which
right,
is yeah, but the Buddhist religion. So I was like, I felt like this really makes sense,
yeah,
you know, as for a lot of things. So yeah, this is like one track
yeah.
of the
Yeah, I'm sure
film that you
everyone
saw.
is like, I want to hear this. I want to hear this. And I mean, that's what I was thinking even when you were talking. Like, I want to hear this, but I've already heard it, but I would hear it again. But I think rather than going, I have a few questions, but I think it'll be nicer to get questions from the audience also. I see one question here. Is that fine with you,
Yeah,
Jyoti?
yeah, sure. Yes.
Yeah, so Gladly Political asks, they say, thank you, Jyoti. I'd love to know your thoughts on homogenizing the Bahujan experience among academic circles.
My thoughts. I really think. I really think knowledge is such a. Individuals. In popular perspective, individuals are basically agents of knowledge. But Sandra Harding says that no, it is the groups which are basically the agents of knowledge. So, which is like a class. Women and peasants and poor people and LGBTQ people or anybody which has a difference with. So I think it's just it's a very personal question as well. So how do you really bring people together, to have that experience? It has to come with some kind of selflessness for sure. That's very, very important. And it also has to come from some kind of distance as well. Because people arrive at a certain evolution at a certain point of time. And it really happens with the way they are evolving. And are they recipient of the knowledge that you are producing? So you can't really hammer a perspective down a person or even groups of people. What you can perhaps do is like raise questions and if it agrees with them or with you, then that's okay. We should I think kind of try to produce a culture where we are able to disagree with each other, and but at the same time are also able to see it is like a more like a structure and superstructure kind of a thing as well. So it is not just like a academic space. It's like if you have to see it more like it's an ideological perspective. It does not matter that you need to be a Brahmin to be practicing Brahmin ideology. You can be pretty much a person from your caste background as well to be led by it, maybe consciously or unconsciously. So that's also very much possible. So I think really what I meant by distance was this, that you can you for the sake of critical thinking, are you thinking person in the sense that you can remove yourself and distance yourself, from that space to have that argument. So I think that's really, really very, very important.
Okay, I'm just gonna. Vasudha Chatterjee asks, is there any book or author that you would suggest to understand the concept of Bahujan representation? The EPW article. But is there anything else that I'll look for other questions in the meantime.
I don't know. So many people have written. Um,
Okay, we can avoid that question. So the political wings, left or right, have been appropriating Ambedkar in various ways, in such a manner that Dalit narratives by Dalits get overshadowed sometimes. What do you have to say on this? This is Deepanjali 06 who's asking.
can you repeat it again, the
Oh,
question?
sorry. Yeah. So the political wings, left or right, they're basically asking, about the appropriation across a political spectrum, and that appropriation overshadowing and like kind of like diminishing the narratives authored by Dalits, Dalit narratives, basically. Yeah.
See, you also have to see why when appropriation starts happening, when the people who have been resisting and their knowledge that they have been producing has started to come into public consciousness. So obviously there is no other way to oppose it. So you'll appropriate it. So it's that kind of a thing, and people are doing it again. It's just there's if you don't have a direct way, the other way is appropriation, which is cheating, stealing or theft, whatever you can call it. Um, and where you don't give a due historical, social perspective about a community or a subject or social context or maybe feminist context. I don't, from where they're coming from. If you don't put it in that kind of, you do have to make that connection. It is very important, especially when you're projecting something like caste, gender, community.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the last question I want to also leave like on a bit of a throwback mode, which is about your filmmaking days. So I wanted to know what a day is like filming on the road, and if there's a specific experience. We're talking about the film B.R. Ambedkar now and then, but yeah, if like what it's like shooting on the road and maybe like an interesting experience. If we can end on that question.
I think wear comfortable clothes, wear good shoes for sure, and eat well before you leave for the shoot.
Yeah.
And I think for the documentary, you should be you need to be really like in your observer self kind of a thing and disconnect and see, because there is a phenomena that is unfolding in front of you, something that can be like really powerful or more dynamic or something that you did not expect on your own to what you were set to look for, you were setting to look for. So I think just be very ready and to capture the moment and constantly, and you like constantly keep making those choices. अरे sound ठीक जा रहा है कि नहीं, सब अच्छा सा, और फ्रेम ठीक लग रहा है कि नहीं, अच्छा क्वेश्चन भी पूछना है. So
Yeah, yeah. It's live.
and without like really making the subject comfortable, I think uh, you need to take them sort of on a journey before really uh, getting them to answer what you want. So it'll be like hectic, like it'll be like 1 hour, 2 hour, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, to get into the depth of the conversation.
Yeah, it just
And
doesn't come like you can't be like asking direct question this that. You have to like warm up a person, and they let them. People get very uncomfortable in front of the camera as well, and it's very interesting. It's like a mirror, like a lens is like a mirror. It really shows people how they look and what are they saying, so and their body and all that. So I think that's also like it's a very pure medium in that sense. You cannot so much you can manipulate it obviously, but you also like what you are. I think I've seen uh, I mean, I have interviewed academicians and theoreticians, and I've also gone to places in the, ground and all that. And trust me, like the ground has given me chills that I was not expecting. I was like, wow, and it is also it's also something which is happening in the now, and you just like start questioning, okay, what is giving them power? What is like really driving them? It is just their belief, which is, like making them say things or have a perspective on life in general. So I think just to be able to receive that is very, sometimes it can come like really powerfully, and it's happened like way many times to to me,
yeah, yeah,
and have way many times to my team as well. And we'll be like spent after a few days of shooting. Yeah, no, we can't do that now for some time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I might have to ask another question just because there are so many questions coming about the film and when we
Yeah.
can see it. So it makes sense to ask, what does the future of the film look like, and how can people stay updated?
You can be updated through my Instagram handle of the film, which is Brand Film. It's also a Brand Film 1 on Twitter, and B.R. Ambedkar Now and Then on Facebook. Right now, like I have applied for some film festivals. So, and usually the festival takes around 7 to 8 months of traveling. So I'm just hoping, let's see how does the film do. I've done my best, and we're also like talking to distributors and other people. So let's see, like this is the shape that it is in. But I think we'll be in a good place. I think so.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. And we look forward to potentially another EPW Engage article that
Yes.
is partly in the works, so that may happen. Yeah, so I just want to thank you so much, Jyoti, for joining us for this IG Live on an important topic and an important day. Yeah,
Thank you so much, Abhishek. It was like an opportunity, like I think, I don't know how many people are like watching and who has come here because it was shared so much. I think so many people shared it, and I'm so happy, like, that I mean, I really do not know when I wrote this article that it would have this kind of a response. But I really, like, again, like, for me it was almost like placing yourself in life and having to have that experience, and I really wanted to that academic I really wanted that knowledge of academia to really make the people feel it, and be able to question it. So thank you so much. I mean, to the people who have been reading it, and I'm like, it's really overwhelming to be talking about something you wrote like a year back. And
yeah,
I must tell and I must tell people as well that Abhishek and I, like, asked me, like, I have tried to write part 2 for so many times, and it's just like is not to my satisfaction at all. And thanks, Abhishek, like, you've been very helpful as well. But now I think, now that I've finished the film, I'm really in a mental space, I think, to be able to write. I was really, really mentally exhausted. And but I think now I'm clear. So part 2, yes, you're gonna get
yes.
it soon for sure.
This is recorded, so.
Yeah,
Uh,
cool, cool.
yeah, but thank you.
Okay.
And I'll end this now, and I invite everybody to read the article and like watch the trailer of Jyoti's film and follow her page on Instagram, like the film's page on Instagram. So thank you everyone for joining us.